political parties and fidelity to political parties.
Yes.
That's a word.
We agreed, but what we told them is that there are certain constitutional doctrines that we cannot claim to violate, especially given the fact that we had no intention of going through a referendum. You know very well, to amend the Bill of Rights, you have to go back to the people, which wasn't our intention. Part of the things that they wanted us to input in the political parties bill, there are obvious violations against the Bill of Rights, like the right to association. Like if you're a member of, say, ODM, and you're seen in a photo with the party leader of UDA at State House, that is ground enough to say that you're not loyal. As a leader of majority, and as a person who believes in that process, who participated in it with all my energy and soul, that there is every intention on the Kenya Kwanza side to ensure that this report is implemented in its entirety. That's why we have moved all the 4 bills in this house, and in the assembly as well, the bills have commenced. I will be pushing our Justice and Legal Affairs Committee when they reconvene after recess to give priority and give us back report, because they're supposed to report back to us within 45 days. And those 45 days haven't lapsed.
Now, one of the natural consequences of what's happening with what they're calling the delay in passing this NADCO bills is a delayed reconstitution of the IEBC. And one of the main issues that many people are not discussing is the issue of delimitation and review of boundaries. The deadline, as provided for by the Constitution, lapsed last month. Yes. So it means we're already in defiance of the Constitution. No one has even moved to court seeking an advisory on that issue. But if we continue in this state of defiance of the Constitution, there must be consequences. What is your take on that issue?
Of course there will be consequences, but I mean, what do? It wasn't intentional on anybody's part. When we met immediately, we came back this session. It was decided in the meeting that I mentioned to you, the first meeting with the leadership of both sides, that the IEBC bill commences in the assembly. I want to believe they have begun the process. In fact, I asked somebody in the assembly a few days ago, and they told me probably on the week that they resume after recess, which is actually next week, they are likely to do second reading of that particular bill. Then obviously it will come to the Senate and we'll try to work on it, because indeed there are certain inherent threats which I kept on reminding my colleagues even on the opposite side when we were at Bomas. You are aware that there is a case already and a determination has been made by the High Court that the IEBC selection panel, for example, should conclude the exercise that they are undertaking in Naivasha and proceed to give us an IEBC. But of course that will find us at a stalemate. If they were to proceed and do that, then we'll find ourselves in a very difficult situation. But then that gives reason why we need to conclude on this particular bill, so that we don't not only handle the issue of delimitation, because we need to make a decision on it, but also there are various wards, I think about 15 wards in the country, that have stayed without a member of the county assembly. That's serious violation of their rights. There is a constituency that has stayed for over a year without their MP. There are petitions that are in the final days before the Supreme Court, and probably a decision may be rendered this way or the other. So I agree with you that there is urgency, and we don't want to find ourselves.
There are those who argue that this is probably, and in a cheeky way, by design and not by default, that probably it's not the kind of conversations that politicians would want to have at this point. That if at all the delimitation and review of boundaries can be delayed as much as possible, it would benefit politicians more than anyone else.
No, not really, because in any case, we don't have a choice. It's a constitutional demand. So either way,
we
have to do it, and we are in defiance. But upon the selection of IEBC, then this issue will confront them square, and they will have to make a decision of what to do with the country at that particular point. Of course, you know, Fred, that in the NADCO report, we proposed an extension and say perhaps given the economic situation where the country is in, and many other factors that we were thinking about, things like do you add more constituencies, do you reduce, and whether this is the right time to do it given the challenges that we are facing as a country. And we thought perhaps we could vary that particular deadline, but that still must go through both houses. Yes. In a constitutional amendment.
So there is a general consensus that that process should be delayed,
yes,
not come at this time.
But either way, IEBC must be in office first to consider and look into all those factors. You know.